What's going on, guys? My name's Toastii, and today we're going to be talking about the state of Ark. I started playing this game back in 2016, and let me say, this game will always have a special place in my heart. But you see, things have changed, and not so much for the best. Today we're going to be talking about how pay-to-win the game currently is. Well, I'm not saying if you have deep pockets you're automatically going to win, but you 100% have an advantage in the current state of Ark. First thing we're going to be talking about is Bob's Tall Tales. To my knowledge, the first paid DLC released on Ark Ascended. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Bob's Tall Tales, when you purchase it, you get access to a couple creatures, as well as everything in this engram list. Give a quick scroll through. There are a couple of engrams in that list that are entirely broken. Now, they're not game-breaking, so maybe broken was the wrong word, but they give an insane advantage over players that don't have it. And the first and most simple, without a doubt, the shovel. One really simple thing the shovel can do is if you dig anywhere, you'll be able to take a sip of water. Simple in design, but still very beneficial. The shovel also gives you access to treasure maps. Now, the treasure maps look a little something like this, right? They spawn in, they normally have a grade, whether that's primitive all the way to ascended. However, I think because I spawned them in, they're not working correctly. I'm not really sure. But essentially, the shovel gives you access to these, and you can get some pretty intense loot from following treasure maps. Now, I couldn't find a loot table explaining what they have in them, but trust me on this one, they are worth your time. For example, I know for a fact I've gotten Ascendant Fabby snipers out of them before, which that alone I think makes them worth it. I digress. Let's move on. From a PvP standpoint, everybody knows hiding is pretty important, right? And there's one item that Bob's Tall Tales grants you that is pretty broken for hiding, and that's the treasure chest. You see, with this, you can put your stuff in there, take your shovel, hit it, and now all of your stuff is hidden from enemy players. Now, you know, I guess you could lose it yourself, but if you're smart, you know, you simply set a waypoint there, and then you can essentially hide your loot for, let's see what the cost of it is. You can have hidden loot for 2 metal ingot and 15 hide. I mean, if you ask me, the trade-off seems pretty worth it. Now, I'm not going to bore you and talk about every single Bob's Tall Tale item, because I'm sure most of you that are watching this video have used most of them. But one that I think every tribe can't live without is the gene scanner. Now, we're not even going to look at the trait side of things. This thing can literally track any dino in the game. It points it to the closest one. And honestly, I find that to be the most useful thing. Whether that be you're taming something, looking for boss tributes, just knowing where stuff is beyond useful. And the Bob's Tall Tale item that I find to be the most broken is the Link storage box. This thing works like an ender chest from Minecraft. You need 2 of them. You power them, you place your items in one, then you can go to another one and take your items out from any distance on the map. It's essentially a poor man's teleporter. You put your whole kit into the Link storage box, use a bed to fast travel, and take everything out of it. You can basically have a teleporter without ever doing a boss fight. Now, I obviously don't want to talk about Bob's Tall Tale forever, and you know, there are a couple exclusive tames to Bob's Tall Tales, like the Cosmo. Cosmo isn't broken overpowered, but it is pretty nice to have. One thing I want to mention too is this new map is running like poo-poo on my PC. I can barely keep up. Let's move over into something a little more interesting, and actually my personal favorite paid-for feature in Ark. You see, I initially planned to never buy a paid DLC. That was until I realized how good this creature was and realized I had to have it. And that's the Pyromane. You see, as much hate as the Pyromane gets, it gets the hate because of how good it is. Just to highlight a couple of my favorite things about the Pyromane, it gives you insulation, so you literally are never hot or cold. It cooks meat and makes jerky in its inventory, can be big or little. But yeah, everybody knows the Pyromane is broken, and honestly, like, oh my gosh, I love this thing. But I love it because it's really good. Honestly, it's too good, but... Now, is any one thing super broken? No. But if you have these paid DLCs, you undeniably have an advantage over people that don't have it. Next thing we're talking about is this death horse called the Dreadmare. Now I'm gonna keep it a buck. I have never used this Dreadmare before spawning it in about 30 seconds ago. But all I want to talk about is one big ability that it has that is insane. We put 456 pounds of weight in this Anki, right? This Dreadmare has 1100 weight. So if we suck in... Look, still has 1100 weight, 2.8 pounds, right? If I fly this Anki way over here, let's see if he keeps his inventory. It is. The Dread Stallion's black hole completely ignores weight. That is extremely broken. I don't care what anybody says. There is a drag weight limit, but I've definitely seen people pull gigas out before. So there's definitely a way to improve that black hole drag weight. Anyway, we spent enough time on the Dreadmare. Let's move on. Sorry guys, I had to get off Lost Colony because that map was running extremely horrible on my PC. But anyway, speaking of Lost Colony, one thing I want to talk about is how broken Lost Colony is. And we're not even going to talk about any of the new creatures. We're going to be talking about this skill tree that is locked behind a paywall. Now I did a quick admin command to unlock every skill, and we're going to take a look at a couple. Now right off the bat, this one is called Spirit Rush. For the next 15 seconds, you gain 100% move speed and phase through wild and your own tamed creatures. Now I know most of you can read, but like, being able to run twice as fast while simultaneously being able to run through dinos, that's... And of course I barely even ran through them. Wow, that actually seems like such a scam. But anyway, you get the point. And there is just a bunch of... Like, these abilities are just so good. This one, Spectral Beasts. Look, I just get as many dire wolves as I want. Tell me how that makes any sense. Can I even do this? Look at that. Free dire wolves, by the way. Though I guess they're dumb dire wolves, but still. I don't really even know what to say. You just get a bunch of free dire wolves that just, like, protect you. That's crazy. Like, can you just whistle aggressive? Yeah, you can just whistle aggressive and they'll just attack everything. That's crazy. Just having 3 pocket dire wolves at all times. That's insane. And it's like, not even the abilities are the ones that are even good too. Even just heavy-footed, taking less fall damage. There's one that, like, you gain 15% move speed for 5 seconds when you shoot a crossbow. Imagine having access to all of these abilities that are all individually good just because you have some money. It's such a cool concept, but locking it behind a paywall is just crazy. If you're gonna lock something behind a paywall, making it broken overpowered is just like, whoa, is that right? That's a good question. Now I could ramble on for hours about just how pay to win this game has become, but like, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already known all about everything I've talked about. So here's a quick cost breakdown of everything we looked at today. First up was Bob's Tall Tales coming in at a whopping $29.99. Then we have Lost Colony also at $29.99. And then the Pyromane and the Dreadmare both at $4.99 each. Which brings the grand total to everything we talked about today coming in at $69.96. And keep in mind, the game only costs $44.99. So to be able to have the same advantage as someone like me who has bought every DLC, you would have to spend $70 to be on the same playing field. Just some food for thought. But seriously, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Is this a good thing for Ark, or do you guys think it's something that's going to end up killing the game? No. This game was never about that in the past. Even if you didn't have DLCs that you bought, you could still acquire the tames through trading, breeding, etc. Completely locking out tames behind a paywall, it just seems wrong to me. But you know what? Who am I? I'm just a random guy posting shit on the internet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed night or day. Peace out.